Hello, everyone. So this is the second part of our lesson under the topic circular functions. So here we will be discussing about reference angles and how to use these angles to find the exact values of the six circular functions. Okay, to start, we have this question. What is a reference angle? So a reference angle is the positive acute angle formed by the terminal side of the given angle in standard position and the x-axis. So it must be the angle formed by the terminal side of the given angle, and it should be in standard position and the x-axis. And it should be a positive acute angle. When we say acute angle, that is an angle between 0 to 90 degrees. Okay, so to illustrate that one, suppose we have this angle in quadrant 1. So suppose this is the angle, the dark green arrow. So that is your angle. So it is at quadrant 1. So the reference angle of this angle will be the angle formed by the terminal side. So this is our terminal side, okay? And the x-axis. And it should be a positive acute angle. Therefore, in this case, the reference angle is just itself, right? So we have this reference angle. You cannot have this one as your reference angle, even though it is the angle formed by the terminal side and the x-axis, because this angle is not an acute angle. Okay, so you cannot have this one as your reference angle. So for quadrant 1, this is your reference angle. Okay, now for quadrant 2, if your angle is located at quadrant 2, so we have this angle. So the angle formed by the terminal side, so this is your terminal side, and the x-axis is the reference angle, and it should be a positive acute angle. So this is now your reference angle. So you cannot have this angle as your reference angle because it is not an acute angle. Okay? Now for quadrant 3, suppose this is our angle, okay? So this is our terminal side, and this is our x-axis. So therefore, the reference angle is the positive acute angle, which is this one. Okay, so this is our reference angle. Again, you cannot have this one because it is not an acute angle. Okay, and for quadrant 4, suppose this one. So the terminal side is this, and the x-axis is this one. So the positive acute angle formed by the terminal side and the x-axis is this one. So this is now your reference angle. So this is not a reference angle because it is not an acute angle. Okay, so that is your reference angle. Now, what if the angle is located on the axis? Okay, is there a reference angle? The answer is no. But there is another term for that. So angles located on the axis or angles whose terminal side lies on the axis, okay, are called quadrantal angles. So what are those angles? So those are 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, 360 degrees, and those coterminal angles of those angles na na-mention natin. Okay? Or in radian, that is 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, and the coterminal angles of those angles. So those are what we call quadrantal angles. Okay? So how do we find the reference angle of a given angle? So we have here the steps so that we can easily identify the reference angle. So first thing that we will do is to find the angle theta bar. So this is our theta bar. So theta bar is the angle between 0 to 360 degrees, or in radians 0 to 2 pi, that is coterminal with angle theta. Therefore, angle theta bar is the angle coterminal with angle theta. Okay, so kunin nyo yung coterminal angle ng given angle between 0 to 360. Okay? Then next, if the resulting coterminal angle theta bar is in step 1 is in first quadrant 1, the reference angle will be the coterminal angle. So reference angle is equal to theta bar. Okay? If the angle is in quadrant 2, so the reference angle now is equal to 180 degrees minus the coterminal angle or theta bar. Or in radian, that is reference angle is equal to pi minus theta bar. Okay? Next, if it is at quadrant 3, so the reference angle will be equal to theta bar minus 180 degrees. Or in radians, that is theta bar minus pi. Okay? And if it is at quadrant 4, the reference angle is equal to 360 degrees minus theta bar or 2 pi minus theta bar. So just take note of these formulas and try to understand bakit ganito yung mga formulas in finding the reference angle. Okay? Now, let's try this one. Find the reference angle of the following angles. First, number 1, 75 degrees. So for number 1, we need to find a reference angle of 75 degrees. Now take note, 75 degrees is at quadrant 1, right? So 75 degrees is somewhere here. So this is 75 degrees. And that is already um, an angle between 0 to 360. So yung coterminal niya between 0 to 360 is itself, right? So the reference angle now of 75 degrees, since it is at quadrant 1, okay? So that is the coterminal between 0 to 360, which is itself. Therefore, the reference angle of 75 degrees is still 75 degrees. Okay, so that is for number 1. Now, for number 2, we need to find the reference angle, okay, of angle 210 degrees. Okay? Now, we need to locate 210 degrees. So, this angle is somewhere here at quadrant 3, right? So, that is somewhere here. So, this is 210 degrees. Now, since this one is in quadrant 3, therefore, the formula will be um, 1 theta bar minus 180 degrees, right? So from that, since this 210 degrees is already between 0 to 360 degrees, so yung coterminal niya between 0 to 360 is itself. Therefore, this one will be still 210 degrees. Then minus 180 degrees. So this is now equal to 30 degrees. So the reference angle of 210 degrees is 30 degrees. Okay? For number 3, okay, for number 3, we need to find the reference angle of negative 265 degrees. Okay, so we need to locate negative 275 degrees. Since this is negative 65 degrees, since this is a negative angle, our rotation is clockwise, right? So that is more than um, 180 but less than 270. So negative 270 is somewhere here. So our angle will be somewhere here. Okay, suppose that is your negative 265 degrees. Okay, so we now have our angle negative 265 degrees. Now, we need to solve first for its coterminal angle between 0 and 360 degrees. So what we are going to do is just add or subtract 360 or k times 360, where k is the number of revolutions needed, right? So in this case, we just need, I think, 1 revolution. So we will just add 360 here. So therefore, theta bar now will be equal to, so this is our coterminal angle, okay, that is negative 265 degrees plus 360 degrees, right? So from that, this is now equal to, okay, so negative 265 plus 360, that is equal to 95 degrees. Okay, so therefore, our theta bar now is equal to 95 degrees. So this will now be equal to theta, since our angle is at quadrant 2, so the formula will be 180 degrees minus theta bar, right? So this is now equal to 180 degrees minus 95 degrees. And this is equal to 85 degrees. So the reference angle of angle negative 265 degrees is 85 degrees. Okay? Now let's solve number 4. Number 4, our angle is 715 degrees. So we need to know the reference angle of 715 degrees. So let's first um, locate 715 degrees in our Cartesian plane. So in this case, 720 degrees is more than one revolution and less than 720 degrees. So it is now somewhere here, right? So this is our angle 715 degrees. So that is one revolution plus this one. So this is 715 degrees. Okay, so we need to know the coterminal angle between 0 to 360 degrees of this angle 715 degrees. So that is your theta bar. Okay, so 715 degrees is more than one revolution. Therefore, we will just subtract one revolution to this angle to find the coterminal angle between 0 to 360 degrees. So we will now have 715 degrees minus 360 degrees, and that is equal to, okay, so this will now be equal to 355 degrees. Okay? So our angle will be 355 degrees, our theta bar. Therefore, since our angle is at quadrant 4, so this one is at quadrant 4, the formula will be 360 degrees minus theta bar, right? So this will now be equal to 360 degrees minus 355 degrees. Therefore, our reference angle will be equal to 5 degrees. Okay, so that is for number 4. Okay? Now, for the last, for number 5, so suppose dito na lang si number 5, we need to know the reference angle of negative 480 degrees. Okay, that one. Since the angle is negative, so our rotation is clockwise. Okay? So that will be more than one revolution. Negative lang yung ating rotation. So that is one revolution and that is 120. So negative 360 minus 120. So that is negative 480. So our angle is somewhere 120. So 90 plus 30, right? So it is somewhere here. Okay? So our angle will be this one, negative 361 revolution plus 120. So this is negative 480 degrees. So the angle is located at quadrant 3. So if the angle is at quadrant 3, our formula will be um, theta, uh, theta bar minus 180 degrees, right? But we need to look for the value of theta bar first. So theta bar will be, so how many revolutions do we need so that um, pag i-add natin siya, the result will be between 0 to 360 degrees. So this angle is more than one revolution at negative. So therefore, we will add two revolutions to make the angle or to have a coterminal angle between 0 to 360. So therefore, theta bar now will be equal to negative 480 degrees plus 2 times 360 degrees, right? So this will now be equal to negative 480 degrees plus 720 degrees. And this is now equal to, so this is 240 degrees. Okay, so the angle coterminal with negative 480 degrees is 240 degrees. So theta bar here will be 240 degrees minus 180 degrees. So this will now be equal to 60 degrees. So this is now our reference angle. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now let's proceed to number 6. Okay, so I will delete this one. Okay, so let's have number 6. Okay, so we have 31 pi over 6. So we have reference of 31 pi over 6. So we need to know the angle coterminal with this one between 0 to 2 pi. But we need to locate 31 pi over 6 first. So in that case, suppose this is our Cartesian plane. Now 31 pi over 6 is 31 times pi over 6. And we know that pi over 6 is 30 degrees, right? So we will just count 31 pi over 6. So 31 na pi over 6. Okay? So pi over 6 is 30, so this is now 30. And take note, 90 divided by 30 is 3, so therefore this 90 angle will be divided into 3 equal parts. So we have 1 pi over 6, and we have 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6 here sa 90, then 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, then 6 pi over 6 here sa 180, then 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, then 9 pi over 6 here sa 270, then um, this is 9 pi, 10 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6, then 12 pi over 6. So this is 12. So therefore, there are 12 pi over 6 in one revolution. So 12 plus 12, so that is 24 pi over 6. So this is already 24 pi over 6 here in our 2 pi, right? So this is now 24 pi over 6, 25 pi over 6, 26 pi over 6, 27 pi over 6, 28 pi over 6, then 29. This is 30, then 31 pi over 6. So this is now 31 pi over 6. So it is at quadrant 3. Okay, so that is 2 revolutions. Then we have this one, 31 pi over 6. Okay? So now, we need to know the angle coterminal with 31 pi over 6. So that is theta bar. So theta bar will be equal to, so how many revolutions do we need to subtract, okay, to 31 pi over 6, since we need to have an angle between 0 to 2 pi. So that is on the left of 31 pi over 6, right? So we will just subtract. So this is, so 31 pi over 6 is um, more than 2 revolutions, right? So therefore, we will just subtract 2 revolutions here. So in this case, we will now have 31 pi over 6 minus 2 times 2 pi. So this is now equal to 31 pi over 6 minus 4 pi. And this is just equal to 31 pi minus 6 times 4 pi, that is 24 pi. So 31 pi minus 24 pi. So 31 minus 24. So that is equal to 7, right? So 7 pi over 6. So our theta bar is just equal to 7 pi over 6. And since this angle is at quadrant 3, so our formula will be 1a, no, this is, wait, since this angle is between um, since this angle is in quadrant 3, so our formula will be the angle theta bar minus pi, right? And this is now equal to 7 pi over 6 minus pi. And this is just 7 pi minus 6 times pi is 6 pi. So that is pi. So this is now equal to pi over 6. So that is our reference angle for number 6. Okay, so this is the reference angle of 31 pi over 6. Now for number 7, we need to know the reference angle of negative 17 pi over 6. Okay? So to locate this angle, we will just apply the same process kanina. So in this case, so pi over 6. So we need to count 17 na pi over 6. Okay, so 17 na pi over 6. And since our angle is negative, so our rotation will be clockwise. Okay, so negative pi over 6 will be somewhere here. So this is 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, then 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, 9 pi over 6, 10 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6, 12 pi over 6, 13 pi over 6, 14 pi over 6, 15 pi over 6, 16 pi over 6, and this is negative 17 pi over 6. So therefore, this angle is coterminal with 31 pi over 6. So they are just the same terminal side. They have the same terminal side, right? So in this case, so we don't need to solve anymore for its coterminal angle kasi the same lang sila ng terminal side. Oh, tingnan nyo lang. Okay, so in that case, theta bar here is just equal to pi over, 7 pi over 6. Okay? So, we will now have, so the same pa rin, theta bar minus pi. So, we will have 7 pi over 6 minus pi, and that is equal to pi over 6. Okay? So, the same lang pala sila. Okay. Now, let's have number 8. So, for number 8, okay, our angle is 16 pi over 3. So, reference angle of 16 pi over 3. Okay, now to locate this angle, we will just do the same. But we need to change the denominator to 6. So what will we do? So we will just multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2 so that the denominator will become 6. So 16 pi over 3, multiply it by 2 over 2 so that the angle will not change. So this will be equal to 32 pi over 6. So we will just count 32 pi over 6. Okay, so in that case, we will have this um, xy plane. So 32 na pi over 6 yung counting natin. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is 12. Then another revolution, that is 24. So 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So this is 32 pi over 6. So it is located at still at quadrant 3. So 32 pi over 6 or just 16 pi over 3, right? So they are just equal, 16 pi over 3. So in that case, we need to solve for its coterminal angle, right? So theta bar will now be equal to, so how many revolutions ang i-deduct natin? So 32 pi over 6 or 16 pi over 3 is more than 2 revolutions. So therefore, we will subtract 2 revolutions. So 32 pi over 6, or maybe we can just write 16 pi over 3. Okay, so 16 pi over 3. 16 pi over 3 minus 2 revolutions, so 2 times 2 pi. This is now equal to 16 pi over 3 minus 4 pi. So this is now equal to 16 pi over 3 minus 4 pi. So this will become um 4 times 3, 12 pi, right? So 16 pi minus 12 pi over 3, and that is equal to 4 pi over 3. So the angle coterminal with 16 pi over 3 between 0 to 2 pi is 4 pi over 3. Okay? So applying the formula, since the angle is in quadrant 3, we will have this formula, theta bar minus pi, right? So in this case, we will now have 4 pi over 3 minus pi, and that is equal to 4 pi minus 3 times pi, that is 3 pi. So 4 pi minus 3 pi is just pi over 3. So this is now the reference angle. Okay, now let's have number 9. Okay, for number 9, we have 23 pi over 3. So reference angle of 23 pi over 3. The same process kanina, we will change the denominator to 6. So you just multiply this by 2 over 2. So 23 pi over 3. So 23 pi over 3 times 2 over 2. This is equal to 46 pi over 6. So we will count 46 na pi over 3. Okay? So we will now have, so 'di ba alam natin na one revolution is um 12 pi over 6, 12 na pi over 6. So this is already 12. Another revolution, 24. Then another revolution, so 24 plus 12, that is 36. Right? So therefore, this is already 36. Then we add 1, 37, then 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. So this is now 46 pi over 6, or just 23 pi over 3. Okay, so this is 23 pi over 3. Okay, so our angle is located at quadrant 4. So we need to know first the angle coterminal with this angle. So we have theta bar. So theta bar, so 23 pi over 6 is more than 3 revolutions. So we will subtract 3 revolutions here. So this is now equal to 23 pi over 3 minus 3 times 2 pi. And this is equal to 23 pi over 3 minus 6 pi. So 23 pi minus 3 times 6 pi is 18 pi. So 23 pi minus um, 18 pi, that is 5 pi, right? So this is 5 pi over 3. Okay, so our um, theta bar is equal to 5 pi over 3. And since the angle is located at quadrant 4, okay, so it is located at quadrant 4, so therefore, our formula will be 2 pi minus theta bar, right? So that is equal to 2 pi minus 5 pi over 3. And this is equal to, so 3 times 2 pi is 6 pi minus 5 pi. So we have pi over 6. Over 3 pala. So over 3. So this is 5 pi over 3. Okay, so this is now our reference angle. Now for the last one, for number 10, we need to know the reference angle of 21 pi over 4. Now, we know that um, pi over 4 is equal to 45. So, we cannot do the same sa angle na to kasi pi over 4 siya. So, over 4, you cannot make it 6, right? So, hindi natin siya ma-divide into 30 degrees. So, what we're going to do here is since we know that pi over 4 is 45, so we will divide the whole unit circle or the xy plane into 45. Okay, so if that's the case, if 90 degree, if we have this xy plane here, okay, so this is 90 divided by 45, so that is 2. Therefore, 90 is divided into two equal parts. Okay, if our angle is 45, right? And that is equal to pi over 4. So we need to count 21 na pi over 4 in this case. Okay, 21 na pi over 4. So once again, 45 divides 90 into two equal parts. So this is 1 pi over 4. This is 2 pi over 4. We have 3 pi over 4. Then 4 pi over 4. 5 pi over 4. 6 pi over 4. 7 pi over 4. And then 8 pi over 4. Therefore, one revolution is 8 pi over 4. So, walong pi over 4. So that is one revolution. Then another revolution, so 8 plus 8, that is 16 pi over 4. So this is already 16 pi over 4. Then 17 pi over 4, 8 pi over 18 pi over 4, 19 pi over 4, 20 pi over 4, 21 pi over 4. So this is now your 21 pi over 4. So it is located at quadrant 3. Okay? So most of my examples here are in quadrant 3. Okay? So hindi ko siya sinasadya. But anyway, if you know the process, then madali na siya. So in this case, we need to know first the angle coterminal with pi over 4. So we have theta bar is equal to, so 21 pi over 4 is more than 2 revolution. As what sa counting natin kanina, more than two revolutions na siya, right? So we will subtract two revolutions here. So 21 pi over 4 minus 2 revolutions, so 2 times 2 pi. So this is now equal to 21 pi over 4 minus 4 pi. Okay, so this is 21 pi over 4 minus 4 pi. So 4 times 4 pi is 16 pi. 21 pi minus 16 pi over 4 na siya. So 21 pi minus 16 pi is 5 pi. So we have 5 pi over 4. So the angle coterminal with 21 pi over 4 between 0 to 2 pi is 5 pi over 4. And since this one is located at quadrant 3, so our formula will be theta bar minus pi, right? So we have 5 pi over 4 minus pi, and this is equal to, so 5 pi over 4 minus pi is 5 pi minus 4 times pi, 4 pi. So 5 pi minus 4 pi over 4 is just equal to pi over 4. So this is now the angle, the reference angle of 21 pi over 4. So as you can observe here, so ganito lang siya. If the angle is written in radian measure, madali lang hanapin yung reference angle. So just look at this one, 6 and 7. Take note the denominator is 6, right? So yung denominator ng dalawa, 6. And the reference angle is pi over 6. Kuha nyo? So therefore, ito, yung reference angle niya ay pi over 6. Tingnan nyo naman itong over 3. Kung over 3, yung reference angle niya ay pi over 3. Nakuha nyo na yon. Next, for over 4, ang reference angle niya ay pi over 4. So, if that's the case, if the angle is in radian measure, just look at the denominator. Okay, and put pi on the numerator, and that will be your um, reference angle. So example, what is the reference angle of 41 pi over 3? So the answer is pi over 3. Okay, so ganun siya. What is the reference angle of, suppose we have 21 pi over, um, no, suppose we have 19 pi over 6. So the answer will be pi over 6. But take note, the angle should be expressed in lowest term. Kasi if we have, suppose this one, saan ba yun? 46 pi over 3. So the reference angle is pi over 3 because the lowest term of 46 pi over 6 is 23 pi over 3. So you need to make sure that the angle is expressed in lowest term. Okay? So that's it for this one. Okay, so since we already know how to find the reference angle of a given angle, now can we use reference angle in finding the values of circular functions? So to answer that question, let us consider this illustration. Now take note, reference angles are positive acute angles formed by the terminal side of the angle in standard position and the x-axis. And since we are just going to consider special angles, so those positive acute angles are only 30, 45, and 60 degrees, right? So if that's the case, we will just examine these angles, 30, 45, and 60 angles. So if that's the case, let us consider now angle 30 degrees. So suppose we have this unit circle here. So 30 degrees is somewhere here. So we need, for you to have the values of the circular functions, take note, we need to know the coordinates of the point on the terminal side of this angle 30 degrees, right? Okay, on the unit circle. So we need to know the point, the coordinates of this point here. So this is 30 degrees, right? So this is 30 degrees. Now, if that is 30 degrees, suppose I am going to project that point to my x-axis here, I can actually have a right triangle. And this right triangle is a 30, 60, 90 triangle, right? So this is now a special right triangle. We know that the hypotenuse of this right triangle is 1 since this is an angle in a unit circle. So therefore, your shorter leg now will be half of this hypotenuse. So that is 1/2. So this is now equal to 1/2 here. And the longer leg is square root of 3 times 1/2. So we have square root of 3 over 2. So if that is the case now, the coordinates of our point here will be, so our x will be square root of 3 over 2. So this is now your x. So square root of 3 over 2. And our y is 1/2. So these are the coordinates of our angle 30 degrees, or in radian, pi over 6. Okay, so we are done with 30 degrees. Now, how about for 45 degrees? Suppose this is 45 degrees, this one. Okay, now we need to know the coordinates of this point here. So the same process, suppose project natin siya sa x-axis. So we will now have a special right triangle again, which is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay? So from that, since our hypotenuse is 1, the legs are square root of 2 times half of the hypotenuse. So half of 1 is 1/2 times square root of 2. So we have square root of 2 over 2 here, and we have square root of 2 over 2 here. So from that, we now have the values of our x and y, right? So the coordinates now will be, our x is square root of 2 over 2, and our y is also square root of 2 over 2. So this is for the angle 45 degrees, or in radian, pi over 4. Okay, so there. Now, how about if we have 60 degrees? So suppose this is 60 degrees, we need to know the coordinates of this point here. So suppose project natin siya dito sa baba. So we will now have, this one is 60, a special right triangle again, which is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So from that, we need to know the hypotenuse, and that is 1. So the shorter leg is just 1/2. So this is your shorter leg, and this is your longer leg, and that is square root of 3 times the shorter leg. So we have 1/2 and square root of 3 over 2, right? So from that, we now have the coordinates of this point on the angle 60 degrees, and that is 1 half, this is your x, and square root of 3 over 2, which is your y. Okay, so this is your x, 1 half. So this is for the angle 60 degrees or pi over 3. Okay, now to answer this question, we need to examine the angles with reference angles na 30, 45, at 60. Okay, so let's start with 30 degrees. Now, suppose we are going to examine the angles in quadrant 2 with reference angle na 30. And that is this angle. So this one here, from the terminal side to the x-axis, this is equal to 30 degrees. So from that, observe that this angle here is just the reflection of our angle na 30 degrees sa quadrant 1, right? So this y value here are equal and your x value is just the negative of your x sa quadrant 1. So therefore, the coordinates now of this angle here will be negative square root of 3 over 2 and 1 half. So as you can see, bumalik lang yung coordinates. But okay, but the signs different na. So it depends on what quadrant sila na belong. Okay, next, we have, how about if we have an angle sa Quadrant 3 with reference angle na 30 pa rin. So that is this angle. Okay, so this one from the x-axis to the terminal side, this is also 30 degrees. And as you can see, this is now a reflection of our angle sa taas, sa quadrant 2, right? So therefore, yung x value natin are the same at yung y naman ay yung negative ng y sa taas. So therefore, the coordinates now will be negative square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1 half. Okay. Next, how about if we have in an angle in quadrant 4, having a reference angle na 30 degrees again. So from that, as you can see, reflection ulit siya, right? So the same yung x value niya sa taas at negative lang ng y sa baba. So from that, we now have this one. Okay, so there is something wrong here. This should be positive. So positive square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1 half dapat siya. Okay? So that is now the coordinate. So ano yung napansin natin dito? So as you can see here, yung x value natin will always be square root of 3 over 2. And yung y ay 1 half. Yung nag-iiba lang ay yung signs ng x and y. Depending on the quadrants, kung saan nabilong yung ating angle. So therefore, if we are going to find the values, we will just um, what do you call this one, you can just refer it to its reference angle. Kasi the same lang yung value natin like this one, square root of 3 over 2 and 1 half. Then apply the signs sa quadrant kung saan sila na belong. So, doon na mag-change yung values niya. So, from positive, magiging negative siya. If in quadrant 2, si x yung negative, well, si y yung positive. Now, let's look at if sa 45 degrees. So, ganun rin ba yung um, ma-observe natin. Okay? So, for 45 degrees naman, okay, so dito, so yung angle na may reference angle na 45 degrees sa quadrant 2 is this one. So, as you can see, reflection ulit siya. So, therefore, we will just change the sign of the values ng ating points. So, therefore, ito ay negative square root of 2 over 2 and square root of 2 over 2. In quadrant 3 naman, so the same pa rin siya, reflection lang siya. Right? So, therefore, we have this coordinates. Then, in quadrant 4, reflection ulit siya. So, we have this. So, ano na naman yung nakita natin? So, the same with 30 degrees. So, we will just take the value ng x and y, then change lang yung sign depending on the quadrant. Okay? Next, how about for 60 degrees? Yan. So, as you can see, reflection ulit siya. Okay? So, therefore, yung sign na naman yung mag-change. Ito, reflection ulit. So, we have this. And this one, reflection ulit. So as you can see, The same values but nag-change lang yung ating um, signs ng mga coordinates. Okay? So that's it. So therefore, can we use reference angle in finding the values of circular functions? The answer is yes. Okay, so you don't really need to find the or memorize the values of the special angles, okay, or yung coordinates ng mga special angles in a unit circle. But you need to just apply the reference angle. So from that, you can easily solve for the values of the circular functions. Now, question, what if the angle is quadrantal? So what will we do? So the same pa rin siya sa reference angle. Ganito siya. If your angle is located here sa positive x-axis, so yung value niya is, or yung point niya is 1, 0. If sa positive y naman, you have 0, 1. If sa negative x, you have negative 1, 0. And if sa negative y, so you have 0, negative 1. So just take note of those things here. Okay, so what we need to really take note is itong mga reference angles lang. Si 30, 45, at 60 at yung mga quadrantal. Then other than that, you can solve the values of the circular functions of the other angles. Okay, if you know this one. So that's it. So therefore, to summarize, to to use reference angles in finding the values of circular functions, you just need to follow these steps. First, determine the reference angle of angle theta. Then after that, we will determine the location of angle theta and affix the correct sign to the particular circular function at an angle theta. So doon na yun mag-change yung mga signs ng x and y natin. So ganito siya. So if your angle is in quadrant 1, so all circular functions are positive. So ganun lang siya. If your angle is in quadrant 2, only sine and its reciprocal na si cosine ang positive. The rest are negative. Okay. Next, if your angle is in quadrant 3, only tangent and cotangent ang positive. The rest are negative. And for quadrant 4, only cosine and secant are positive while the rest are negative. Okay, so ganun lang siya. Number 1, step 1, determine the reference angle of angle theta. Then number 2, affix the correct sign. So determine the location if what quadrant, then affix the correct sign to the particular circular function at an angle theta. So just memorize this um, illustration here. So quadrant 1, all. Quadrant 2, sine and cosecant. Quadrant 3, tangent and cotangent. And for quadrant 4, cosine and secant lang yung positive. Okay? The rest, negative na. So let's apply these things that we've learned here. Let's use the reference angle to find the exact values of each expression here. Number 1, cosine 510 degrees. So for number 1, we need to solve first for the reference angle of 510 degrees. So first, we need to solve for the reference angle of 510 degrees. So in that case, we need to locate first angle 510 degrees. So 510 is more than 360 degrees. So 510, so 360 plus 90, that is 450, right? So 450 plus 60, so that is 510. So 510 is somewhere here, right? So this is now um, 510 degrees. There. So therefore, 510 degrees is at quadrant 2. Okay? So since si cosine yung hinahanap natin at quadrant 2, si cosine ay yung x, so negative dapat yung answer natin. Okay? So we need to solve first for its reference angle. So we need to know theta bar muna. Okay, so 510 degrees is more than 360 degrees. So we will just subtract 360, right? So 510 degrees minus 360 to get the coterminal angle between 0 to 360. So this is just equal to 150 degrees. Okay, and since this angle is in quadrant 2, the formula will be 180 degrees minus theta bar, right? And this is 180 degrees minus 150 degrees. And this is just equal to 30 degrees. So this one here is 30 degrees. Pero kung kaya nyo siyang ma-visualize sa pag-illustrate nyo pa lang sa graphing nyo na 30 degrees yung angle, so you don't need to show this one. Okay? Then after that, let's solve now number 1. So cosine 510 degrees will be equal to cosine of the reference angle. So the reference angle is 30 degrees, right? So cosine 30 degrees, and that is um, since the angle is at quadrant 2, so the value of cosine here is negative, right? So we have negative of cosine 30 degrees. So you affix now the sign. So our final answer will be negative of cosine 30 degrees. So ano yung x-coordinate ng cosine 30? That is just equal to square root of 3 over 2. So cosine 510 degrees is negative square root of 3 over 2. So, ilagay lang natin yung mga values ng 30, 45, at 90. Okay? Or you memorize that one. Okay. Next, number 2. We have sine negative 120 degrees. So, we need to know the reference angle of negative 120 degrees. So, let's illustrate that one. Negative 120 degrees is somewhere here. So, this is negative 90 here. Negative 90 plus 30. So, ito yung angle natin. Negative 120 degrees. So, this is negative 120 degrees. So, this one is just 60, right? So, pwede nyo nang um, i- ibigay agad kung kaya nyong makita sa illustration pa lang. Since this is 90 plus 30, this is negative 120. So, this is 30 here. Therefore, this is 60. So, the reference angle now is just 60 degrees. Okay? So, from that, we now have sine of negative 120 degrees is equal to sine of 60 degrees. And we need to affix the sine. Since the angle is located at quadrant 3, sine here is negative because only tangent and cotangent are positive at quadrant 3. So we have negative. So negative sine 60 degrees tayo dito. Okay? And what is the value of sine 60 degrees? So that is the y-coordinate of 60 degrees. And that is square root of 3 over 2. So we have negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay? For number 2. Okay. Now for number 3, tangent 225 degrees. Okay. So for tangent 225 degrees, let's locate 225 degrees. So 225 degrees is just 180 plus 45, right? So it is somewhere here. So this is 184. So this is 225 degrees. Thus, this angle here is just 45 degrees. Okay? So the reference angle will be 45 degrees. So reference of 225 degrees is 45 degrees. So we have tangent of 45 degrees. Now, since the angle is located at quadrant 3 and we are looking for tangent, this is now positive. So we have positive um, tangent 45 degrees. So, lagay lang natin positive, pwede na ring wala. Okay? And after that, what is tangent 45 degrees? So, tangent is just y over x. So, what is the y value of your 45 degrees? That is equal to square root of 2 over 2, right? And your x is also square root of 2 over 2. And this is now equal to 1. Okay? So tangent 225 degrees is equal to 1. Okay. Now for number 4, secant 270 degrees. So we need to locate 270 degrees. So 270 degrees is 90, 180, 270 is a quadrantal angle. 270 degrees is a quadrantal angle. So if that's the case, you can automatically solve for this one. So since this is uh, located on the negative y-axis, the coordinates are 0, -1. And second is 1 over x, right? So we now have 1 over 0, and which is undefined. Okay, so for number 4, secant 270 degrees is 1 over 0 or undefined. Okay, so that is for number 4. Now, how about for number 5? So we have cosecant -300 degrees. So negative 300 degrees. So locate that one. Negative 300 degrees. So this is negative 90, negative 180, negative 270. So what's um, kulang is 30, right? So this is now 270, then 30. So we have negative 300 degrees. So therefore, this angle here is the reference angle, and that is 60 degrees. So reference angle of negative 300 degrees is 60 degrees. So from that, we now have cosecant negative 300 degrees, so yung reference will be 60 degrees. And since the angle is at quadrant 1, cosecant is positive. Okay. Then after that, cosecant is 1 over y, so that is 1 over the coordinate of the angle 60 degrees. That is just equal to square root of 3 over 2. So we now have 1 times 2 over square root of 3, right? So this is 2 over square root of 3. Then rationalize. Our final answer will be 2 square root of 3 over 3. So that is for number 5. Now for number 6, cosine pi. So where is your pi? So pi is here. So this is a quadrantal angle, and it has the coordinates -1, 0, right? So therefore, you can automatically solve this one. Cosine pi is the value of x, okay, of the angle pi, and that is -1. Okay, now let's have number 7. 7 is sine -7 pi over 6. Okay, so we already know that the reference angle of 7 pi over 6 is just pi over 6, right? Since 7 pi over 6 is already in lowest term. So we have sine of pi over 6. Now, we need to locate -7 pi over 6 so that we can apply or affix the correct sign. So negative 7 pi over 6. So that is 7 na pi over 6. So we will count 7 na pi over 6, and our rotation is clockwise. So we have 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So this is negative 7 pi over 6, right? So negative 7 pi over 6 is at quadrant 2. And sine at quadrant 2 is positive. So we have plus here. So we now have sine of pi over 6. So that is the y value of the angle pi over 6. So we now have y value of pi over 6. So that is 1/2. So our final answer is positive 1/2. Okay? Now let's have number 8. So here. 8 is tangent 2 pi over 3. We know that the reference angle of 2 pi over 3 is just pi over 3, right? So, yan. Now, let's locate 2 pi over 3. So, 2 pi over 3, if we are going to change that one to over 6, so that will become 4 pi over 6. So, count tayo ng apat na pi over 6. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is 2 pi over 3. So 2 pi over 3 here. So it is at quadrant 2. And tangent at quadrant 2 is negative. So our sign here is negative. So we now have equal to negative of, so tangent pi over 3, that is y over x. So y of pi over 3 is, so y of pi over 3, that is just square root of 3 over 2, right? And x of pi over 3 is 1/2. And the final answer will be negative square root of 3. Okay? Then for number 9, okay, cotangent of 13 pi over 6. So we know that the reference angle is pi over 6, right? Then let's locate this one. 13 pi over 6. So you count 13 na pi over 6. And we know 1 revolution is 12 pi over 6. So we will just add 1 pi over 6. So we have 13 pi over 6 here. So it is located at quadrant 1. So in quadrant 1, all circular functions are positive. So this is now positive. So this is now equal to cotangent is x over y. So you determine the x value of pi over 6. So pi over 6, x is the square root of 3 over 2, right? And your y is 1/2. So our final answer is the square root of 3. Okay, and for the last one, number 10, cosine of 16 pi. So 16 pi is a quadrantal angle. So 16 pi, so that is 1 revolution is 2 pi. So 4, 5, 6, another revolution, then 8, 10, 10, 12, 14, 16. So 16 pi is here. And the coordinates here are 1, 0. So cosine of that is just the x value, which is equal to 1. Okay? So that ends our lesson for today. Now, I will be showing you the coordinates of the special angles in a unit circle. You don't need to memorize this one. Just memorize the values of the reference angle. Okay? And you can solve the rest of the values here ng mga angles. Okay? So that's it for the day. Thank you for watching.